I buried my husband on a Tuesday, and by Friday, his family had rewritten my life as a footnote in their empire of lies. The priest's eulogy still echoed in my ears, words about eternal love and unbreakable bonds, while I clutched the deed to a rotting animal shelter they'd gifted me. Their final insult disguised as inheritance. What they didn't know was that I'd already started digging, and the bones I unearthed would drag us all into the grave. My name is Riley Harlan, and for 5 years, I'd played the perfect daughter-in-law to the Ashfords, that glittering dynasty of Chicago real estate tycoons who built skyscrapers on the backs of forgotten neighborhoods. Ethan, my husband, was their golden boy, charming, ambitious, the one who smoothed over their sharper edges. We met at a gala in the Loop, him in a tux that cost more than my childhood home, me fresh out of community college with dreams bigger than my bank account. He swept me into a world of marble floors and private jets, whispering promises of forever. But forever cracked the night of the fire. It started small, like most infernos do. The Ashford Foundation's annual fundraiser at their lakefront estate in Evanston. Crystal chandeliers, caviar towers, politicians toasting to urban renewal. I was 7 months pregnant, glowing in a silk gown Ethan picked out, sipping sparkling water while schmoozing donors. That's when I overheard Victor Ashford, Ethan's father, the silver-haired patriarch with eyes like polished steel, hissing into his phone in the study. Burn it down if you have to. That eyesore blocks the waterfront view. Insurance will cover the rest. The eyesore was the Lakeside Animal Haven, a non-profit shelter I'd volunteered at since moving to Illinois. It was a relic from the 70s, sagging under leaky roofs and overworked staff, home to strays from the city's underbelly, pit bulls with scarred muzzles, kittens mewling in cardboard boxes. I'd poured my heart into it, organizing fundraisers, fostering litters in our condo. Victor knew he'd even donated once, a tax write-off with his name etched on a plaque. But progress, he called it. Condos for the elite, erasing the grit. I didn't confront him. Not then. Ethan found me pale in the hallway, chalked it up to hormones. You're imagining things, babe. Dad's all bark. We danced the night away, his hand on my belly, our baby's first kick sinking to the band's swing. Hours later, sirens wailed. The shelter was ablaze, arson. The fire marshal later ruled. Faulty wiring, they said publicly. But I saw the shadows fleeing the lot, smelled the accelerant on the wind. Ethan swore he'd handle it. Family first. Riley. Let me talk to him. He vanished into Victor's den for hours, emerging with a forced smile and a bottle of scotch. That night, as we lay in our king bed overlooking Lake Michigan, he confessed in whispers. It wasn't Dad. Some pissed-off ex-employee. But if it gets out, the foundation had beef with the place. It could tank everything. Lies wrapped in love. I let it slide. For him. For the baby. But the baby never came. Miscarriage hit like a freight train 2 weeks later, complications from the stress. The doctor murmured. Ethan blamed himself, spiraling into workaholic nights. I blamed the fire, the secrets festering like smoke in my lungs. The shelter limped on, half rebuilt with insurance scraps. But the animal suffered. I poured Ethan's life insurance into it after he crashed his Porsche on the Dan Ryan, drunk. They said. But I knew better. Guilt. The kind that hollows you out. The reading of the will was a farce in Victor's mahogany-paneled office downtown. The kind of room that screamed old money. Victor, impeccable in his Brooks Brothers suit, slid the documents across the desk like discarding trash. Ethan's shares go to the company.
Of course.
But you, Riley. We've provided. The provision was the lakeside animal haven, deeded to me outright. A crumbling liability worth pennies.
No cash.
No condo. No safety net. Disowned. In all but name. I laughed. A brittle sound that echoed off the walls. This is your mercy? The place you torched? Victor's eyes narrowed. But Eleanor, his wife, Ethan's mother, a Botoxed ice queen in pearls, leaned forward with saccharine pity. It's what Ethan wanted.
Dear.
A legacy for your passions. Legacy. As if they hadn't tried to sell it under the table 6 months prior, flipping it to a developer for a cool 7 figures while Ethan lay dying. I'd found the emails in his laptop, buried in a folder labeled Family Matters. That's when the hook sank deep. They thought me broken, a widow adrift in their wake. But grief is a forge, and I was tempering into something sharp. The shelter wasn't a gift. It was my arsenal. Those kennels held more than strays, they held records, witnesses, the ghosts of their greed. I moved into the shelter's back office that week. A musty room with peeling wallpaper and a cot that smelled of wet fur. The city lights of Evanston twinkled mockingly through the grimy window, a reminder of the life I'd lost. But isolation bred clarity. I started small, combing through the shelter's dusty files, cross-referencing with Ethan's digital hoard. What I found wasn't just arson, it was a web. Victor's urban renewal projects weren't renewals, they were erasures. Squatters evicted at gunpoint, bribes to inspectors, foundations poured over unmarked graves of the displaced. The shelter had been collateral, but not the first. A decade ago, another blaze, a tenement in Pilsen, cleared for Ashford Towers. 20 families homeless, 1 toddler lost in the smoke. Victor walked. Of course, donations to the right campaigns. Ethan had known, buried it deeper than his father. And me? I'd signed the NDA the day after the miscarriage, trading silence for our future. For us. Riley, he'd begged, tears in his eyes. I'd borne the lie, miscarried the truth. My first move was a whisper. I hired a PI, a grizzled ex-cop named Marty from a dive bar in Rogers Park. Cash under the table, the kind that doesn't trace. Dig quiet, I told him. Start with the fire marshal's report on Lakeside. He called back in days, redacted pages, but the unredacted scraps screamed cover-up. Accelerant traces matched a canister from Ashford Properties' maintenance shed. And the ex-employee? A whistleblower who'd threatened to sue for wrongful termination after refusing to relocate strays, human and animal, from a condemned building. Rage simmered, but revenge needs patience. I played the part, the grieving widow, posting tearful updates on the shelter's fledgling Instagram. Rebuilding one paw at a time. In memory of Ethan, donations trickled in $500 here, a crate of kibble there. Enough to fix the roof. Install cameras. The cameras caught everything. Victor's lackeys sniffing around the perimeter at midnight. Testing fences. Snapping photos for their pitch deck. They still wanted it gone. Rebranded as Harbor View Lofts, waterfront luxury for tech bros fleeing San Francisco. Eleanor reached out next. All faux concern over chamomile tea at a cafe in Lincoln Park. Her diamonds glinted like accusations. Riley, darling, this phase. It's unbecoming. Come back to the fold. We can set you up in a nice little place in the suburbs. Suburbs. Code for exile. I smiled, stirring my cup. The shelter's my place now. Ethan's gift. Her laugh tinkled like breaking glass. Gift? It's a pit. Sell it to us. We'll make it worthwhile. There it was. The hook. They thought me malleable. A pawn in their chess game. But I'd been studying the board. Worthwhile how? I pressed, feigning interest. She leaned in, perfume cloying. Discreetly. Off books. You walk with enough to start over. The offer was a trap, laced with NDAs thicker than the last. I nodded, played along. That night, I leaked a teaser to a local blogger. Ashford airs animal shelter for luxury flip, while widow fights to save it. The post went viral in niche circles, animal lovers, urban activists. Protests brewed outside Ashford HQ. Signs reading, pause over profits. Victor called. Voice velvet over venom. Clever. Riley. But you're playing with fire. I hung up. Heart pounding. The game was on. Marty delivered more dirt weekly. Wire transfers from Ashford Shells to the Fire Marshal's retirement fund. Photos of Victor golfing with the mayor. Deals sealed over 18 holes. And Ethan, God.
Ethan.
He drafted the sales contract for Lakeside himself. Months before the crash. Contingency, his notes read. Protect the family. My husband. My betrayer. Grief twisted into something darker. A blade I honed in the quiet hours. Walking the kennels as dogs whined for scraps. One stray bonded to me, a brindle pit named Shadow. Ribs like piano keys. Eyes holding wars I'd never fight. He slept at my feet, a silent sentinel. We're in this together, I murmured, scratching his ears. The shelter became my fortress. Volunteers trickling in, misfits like me, drawn by the cause. A tattooed vet tech named Jax, who fixed fractures for free, an elderly widow, Mrs.
Lopez.
Who baked empanadas and spun tales of old Chicago. But Victor flipped first. A bouquet arrived at dawn, roses the color of fresh blood. A card reading, let's talk legacy. Dinner at the club.
V.
I went, dolled up in Ethan's old cufflinks pinned to my lapel. The club was old guard, oak panels, cigar haze, men in blazers swapping stock tips. Victor waited at a corner table, alone, a Scotch neat sweating condensation. You're a fighter, Riley, he said, raising his glass. Like me. Flattery. The serpent's tongue. He spun it smooth, the shelter as a family project, reimagined under Ashford greenwashing. Tax breaks. My name on the board. Ethan would want unity. Unity. As if he hadn't united against me. I probed. Gentle. And the fire? His pause was a tell. Ice clinking. Tragedies happen. But weary build. Lies. But laced with half-truths. He offered papers a partnership. My cut 20%. I signed. Provisional. Betrayals echo. That night, I fed the docs to Marty. Traced the signatures. Find the ghosts. The twist came in fragments. Like puzzle pieces from a nightmare. Marty's report landed via burner phone. The fire marshal. Dead 2 years back, heart attack. Official. But the autopsy? Overdose on the same benzos Victor popped for stress. A coincidence? My gut screamed no. Deeper dives revealed Ethan's Porsche hadn't skidded on black ice. It hydroplaned on oil slicks from a tailing vehicle. Ashford's security plates blurred in traffic cams. Victor was flipping again, his charm curdling to threats. Anonymous emails ping my inbox. Walk away. Or the dogs pay. I upped the cameras, added motion lights. Shadow growled at shadows that weren't there. Protests swelled, now national. Picked up by animal rights pods on TikTok. Save Lakeside. Trended. Hashtags laced with Ashford exposed. Eleanor went public. A tearful op-ed in the Tribune. Misunderstood philanthropists under siege by a grieving widow's vendetta. Vendetta. The word stung.
True as it was.
I countered with a live stream from the kennels, cradling a shivering Chihuahua rescue. This isn't about me. It's about the lives they erase for profit. Views spiked millions. Donations flooded. Enough for lawyers. Pro bono. A firebrand from the ACLU named Lena, who smelled blood. Defamation suit incoming, she grinned over Zoom. But first, we depose. The deposition was theater in a glass tower off Michigan Avenue. Victor, unflappable in pinstripes, sworn in under fluorescent glare. Lena circled like a shark. Mr. Ashford. Explain the $50,000 wire-to-fire Marshall Hargrove post-Lakeside blaze. Victor's smile didn't crack. Consulting fee. Safety audits. Lies. But slippery. Then she dropped the bomb. Ethan's emails. Timestamped. Contingency for sale. Post-fire cleanup. The room iced. Victor's eyes flicked to me. Venom pure. Fabricated. My son wouldn't, but the signatures matched. Ethan's hand. My husband's betrayal in ink. I held steady, but inside, I fractured. That night, alone with Shadow, I wept, not for loss, but for the boy I'd loved, twisted by his bloodline. Eleanor's flip was subtler. A late-night call laced with gin. Riley, he's destroying us. All of us. Hysteria cracked her voice.
Ethan.
He wasn't the architect. Victor forced it. The miscarriage stress from the cover-up. I begged him to tell you. Bombshell. She'd known. Enabled.
But now?
Cracks in the facade. Help me bury him, she whispered. And we save the shelter. Together. Alliance? Or another noose? I strung her along, feeding scraps to Marty. He uncovered the crown jewel, the Pilsen fire. Not accident. Victor's orders. Ethan's execution, wiring tampered during a renovation scout. The toddler? A undocumented migrant kid. Body hushed with payoffs. I'd borne the silence. But worse, I'd signed off on the NDA, shielding them for family harmony. My mistake. Their crime. Revenge coalesced. Not destruction, but exposure. I leaked to Lena, who filed for discovery. Victor retaliated. Goons trashed the shelter's fence, spray painting liar on the walls. Jax caught one on cam, a Ashford contractor. Mask slipping. We pressed charges. Minor. But the headline screamed, Widow's War, Shelter Sabotage? The city divided. Protests clashed, animal activists versus pro-business suits busted by Victor. Fists flew on CNN. A viral clip of a yuppie shoving a teen with a puppy poster. I waded in once. Shadow leash tight. Facing Eleanor across barricades. Her face, maskless in the chaos. Regret? Or calculation? End this, she mouthed. I turned away. Heart, a war drum. Marty's final drop was dynamite. DNA from the Porsche wreckage. Not just Ethan's blood, but a passenger's trace. Unlogged. Run it quiet. Matched to Victor's illegitimate son. A fixer named Kane. Vanished post-crash. Ethan hadn't died alone. He'd been silencing the silencer. Victor's house of cards teetered. I planned the climax for the gala's anniversary, the Ashford Foundation's black tie redux at the estate. Invitation forged via Eleanor's olive branch. I'd go as guest, not ghost. Shadow stayed with Jax, the kennels locked tight. In my gown, black silk, Ethan's ring reforged into a pendant. I slipped in like smoke. The ballroom glittered. Same chandeliers mocking. Victor held court, toasting resilience. I waited, peripheral, until Lena's injunction hit. Servers paused. Phones buzzed with alerts. Tribune exclusive. Ashford Empire built on ashes. Arson cover UPS exposed. Sourced anonymously, me. Gasps rippled. Victor's face drained to ash. He cornered me in the garden. Lake lapping like accusations. You bitch. This ends tonight. But Eleanor materialized.
Clutch trembling. No.
Victor. It ends now. Her flip final. Furious. She thrust a USB. Board minutes. His orders in black and white. I recorded it all. For Ethan. Betrayals ricochet. Victor lunged, not for me, but her. A shove. Heels skidding on dew-slick stone. She teetered. Plunged into the shallows. Pearls scattering like drowned stars. Chaos erupted. Screams. CPR. Ambulances wailing. Victor fled to his limo. But I had the last word, whispered to arriving cops. He pushed her. The fallout was biblical. Eleanor survived, hypothermia. Bruises. But her testimony cracked the vault. Victor arrested at dawn. Cuffs clinking like toast to ruin. Charges piled. Arson. Manslaughter, the toddler. Fraud. Conspiracy. The media frenzy devoured it. Fall of the Ashford Throne, 60 Minutes special. Podcast dissecting every lie. Kane surfaced. Flipping state's evidence for immunity. Boss man wanted the loose ends tied. Ethan drove. I lit the fuse.
Me?
I vanished into the storm's eye. Shelter gates barred to reporters. Volunteers held the fort. Jack's walking runs. Mrs. Lopez feeding the frenzy with tamales. Shadow greeted me each dawn. Tail thumping forgiveness I couldn't grant myself. Had I pushed too far? Eleanor's alliance was leverage. Her fall a calculated risk. Or accident in the heat. The line blurred. Readers, viewers, splitting into camps online. Justice for Riley versus witch hunt. Debates raging if I'd orchestrated the shove via whispers. Or if Victor's empire crumbled under its own weight. No one was clean.
Ethan.
My ghost husband. Architect of silences. I'd borne his sins. Masquerade our future for his facade. Victor. The monster. But a father warped by legacy's weight. Eleanor. Enabler turned avenger, her bruises badges of belated regret.
And me?
The betrayer avenged. Hands stained by truths I'd weaponized. The shelter stood. Rechristened Harlan Haven, donations pouring like rain after drought. But victory tasted of ash. Twist landed via Marty's coda. A manila envelope on my cot. Ethan's final letter. Unsent. Dated the crash night. Riley, if you're reading this,
I'm gone.
The sales. The fires. Dad's madness. I covered for him.
For us.
But the baby? That was my out. I poisoned the well, stress pills in your tea. To end it clean. Forgive me. Or don't. Sell the shelter. Burn it all. Poison. My miscarriage. No accident. Ethan's hand. Not fate's. The blade twisted deepest, love's ultimate betrayal. I burned the letter in a kennel bucket, flames dancing shadows on the walls. Shadow whined, nosing my hand. Forgiveness? A myth for the pure. Months blurred. Victor's trial dominated, hung jury first round. Mistrial whispers of bought jurors. He flipped. Plea deal for lesser counts. House arrest in a Gold Coast penthouse. Eleanor divorced him poolside. Her memoir deal sealed with Netflix rights. From ashes to truth, she'd title it, Me the Tragic Heroine or Villainous. I rebuilt. The shelter thrived, new wing for rehab, therapy dogs for trauma survivors. Kids from Pilsen's ghosts came, petting wary strays, healing in fur and forgiveness. But nights, alone, the lake's whisper mocked, who betrayed whom? I disowned them first. In my heart, long before the deeds. One dawn, as fog rolled off Michigan, a black SUV idled at the gates. Victor, gaunt in a cashmere coat, cane tapping gravel. Parole hearing loomed. He wanted reconciliation. Eyes like Ethan's, pleading. Riley. Family. I unchained the gate, shadow bristling at my side. Family dies in fire. Victor. But legacies? They rise from the shelter. He extended a check, 6 figures, for the dogs. I tore it, shreds fluttering like confetti. Keep your mercy. Turned him away, but not before seeing the fracture. A man unmade. Empire dust. Was it justice? Or just another layer of gray? Readers argue still, forums ablaze. My name's shorthand for moral quagmires. Happy ending? The shelter hums. Animals saved. A widow whole-ish. But Bykitch lurks. Ethan's poison in my veins. Forever. I walk the runs at twilight. Shadows paw in mine. Wondering if revenge rebuilt or just rearranged the ruins. In America, where dreams are condos and nightmares are evictions, we all chase tails, strays in search of home. Mine? This chain-link kingdom, where betrayal barks but doesn't bite. Not anymore.